Previously on David Frankal. So here we are at Budapest airport at the beginning of what might be my longest video ever, since we're spending 2 weeks here in Budapest. We're also going to the Balaton and Pécs. And here we are at Balatonalmádi. The train continues to fill up. Red. And welcome back. It is now it's Tuesday. And we were going to go on a sunset cruise yesterday, but because it was raining we couldn't see the sunset. Today, however, it's much nicer and sunnier, and the Balaton is much calmer and less dangerous. So we're going to go on a lovely little sunset cruise. And we are off, or at least the engine started. We haven't actually started moving yet. So here we are on the boat. We're kind of circled around here. Took lots of pictures of Tihany, and we're now heading back to Balaton Füred. And we're off our boat now after a lovely boat ride. We're now going to go home because it's night time and we're tired. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of August, and we're cycling to Csopak after spending the whole morning trying to do another one of those 6-person panels like we did last year for the David Frankal show, and concluding that it's almost impossible to get 6 people in the same place at the same time, so I eventually gave up. So that's not going to happen because one of the people is going home at 3 this afternoon. So we'll just have to do the next week's David Frankal show without a special segment from the Balaton. But we have this video, which pretty much wraps up the whole holiday, at least from my point of view. Eventually we decided to give up and go cycling instead. So we're going to Csopak to see the second steam engine, because we went to the one in Almaty yesterday, and there's also one by Csopak station today, and we thought it would be nice to cycle there. And we're having a pit stop at Ourobros, which is about 2/3 of the way there, and we're having some water and ice cream. And we have made it to Csopak, hooray! I was just observing that part of the road we were on, because there's this road here, which is the main road, but some parts, and this has a pavement alongside, but some parts you went on a whole other little road that kind of went alongside it, were much slower and more twists and turns, and no tunnels or overpasses or anything, but there are still cars on that road. And I theorised that the new road built alongside it was like a bypass, and the road we were on was originally part of the main road. But here in Csopak they haven't rebuilt any of it, it's just a single main road passing through. And here's the station, which unlike most of the stations along the line where the track splits and there are platforms in the middle, Csopak is just a one platform little stop. And they actually classify it differently. In Hungary you have Pályaudvar, Hauptbahnhof main station, Piccadilly, Budapest, Keleti, etc. You have Állomás, which is a proper station with more than one platform and a building and everything. And then this thing is just called a MacLeod, where the train stops. There's no building or ticketing hall or anything at all. You just get on the train, get off, it's a platform. That just ends. Quite basic, even by British standards, but it does its job. Meanwhile, next to the MacLeod is this old steam train, which is the second of 2 abandoned steam trains in this area, just on an isolated bit of track. My mum says she saw when this track was actually connected to the line, she saw them pull in the train here, which they, knew in advance they decided they were going to put here on display. She saw them put it in and put it down, and since then the bit of track connecting them two has been removed, so it's now just on an isolated bit of track, just sitting there, not really doing anything. Maybe one day they'll give it a new paint over, but for now it seems that forever its fate is just to sit here. It's a little decorational item. You can see the old abandoned, I think that must have been the level crossing, because this was all track at one point, because there's a junction here, so this was all railway zone. Now it isn't. So this is the second of the 2 in this area. Like I said, the other one was on the hill in Balatonalmádi, and this is what we came here to see, as well as we came here because we like cycling. And somebody's phoning me, so I'm going to have to end the scene now. I just realised that all these things next to it are also related to the train. There's the level crossing, there's a semaphore and a water tank, and I put two and two together and figured out that this must have been a siding in which they refilled the steam trains, because in the age of steam, you know, there's more to it than just filling it up. Like a diesel engine has to be filled up, but they do that at the depot. With the steam train, its fuel capacity was much lower, so there had to be at certain stations places where you could fill up in water and in coal. So Csopak must have been one of these places, and this whole area must have been like a filling station. And there's all sorts of little relics of the past. It's like a narrow gauge. Something over here, and there's some wheels. And I don't know, it's like a little railway garden almost. Some benches, and you could look over at how they did everything. The old semaphores, this other kind of signalling thing. I'm not really sure. I don't know all that much about steam train equipment, so not really my area of expertise. But it's a railway garden, and I think it's quite magnificent, actually. Worth a visit if you're interested in that sort of thing and you'll find yourself anywhere near the town of Csopak. Anyway, we just found out we had to be home earlier because one of us has to get a train at 3:10, so we have to be back at the campsite at 2:30. So we're going to have to leave very soon. Well, we've got 2 hours, so actually we're not in that much of a rush at all. So now leaving Csopak, and there's this funny like art installation here, which we actually pass under. It's like a GoPro, just not a GoPro. It's a bit dangerous actually, I think I should stop this. So this is where the road splits, and I reckon this was the road, but then they built that new road up there. So this is where my theory is most applied. You can see there's houses along this road, and then you have that almost motorway-like overpass built up there. But the houses are here because the houses were built on the road originally, but now they've been shoved onto a side road because the new main road was built up there. There, look, see? It's an overpass. So this must have been the original. And here, the railway runs alongside this road, and suggests that they were built together at the same time. And here is where the old road joins the new road. In the meantime, we veer off to the right onto a... No, I think this is still the old road actually, and that's the new road over there. So here we are on the little road that circles around the back of Ourobros station, which was much bigger. Now most of the side tracks lie abandoned, like this one here, which ends in a mound of dirt. And you can see the actual line continues on there, and there's all these old station buildings and things. And there's also an abandoned turntable, which was removed, so you now just see the circular hole which it was in, just down the path here. Very difficult to cycle and hold the camera at the same time, which explains why it's even shakier than normal. I should really get a GoPro and strap it to my head. That would be the best thing. Anyway, you can see here where the where the abandoned turntable was. I mean, where the turntable was, now it's abandoned. You can just see the hole it's in. Meanwhile, there's Ourobros station. And here's the abandoned turntable. Meanwhile, a train passes the station there. It's quite a find. I didn't even know this existed until Gago pointed it out to me on the way here, and I thought I should do a video of it on the way back. You can see where the track led up to it, and it connects all the junctions at the station. And here's Alshire Station with, I think, 3 tracks used as platforms, the others are just kind of lying abandoned. And you can see there's actually 2 station buildings. And you can see the 2 station buildings, 1, 2. It's quite weird. So here we are in a little restaurant in Alshire. And there's a little pathway here, which makes up part of the cycle path, although I think that road is the original at this point. And it is one of the very few stretches of the North Balaton branch line where the track is actually fenced off, obviously, because this is mostly a pedestrianised area with little kids running around. It makes a lot of sense to fence off the railway here, but in the vast majority of the branch line it's just an open line that you can walk all over if you were a suicidal manic depressive, that is, but you know, it's quite dangerous. Here we are at Capital and Fured, which is kind of part of Balatonalmádi, but what I didn't know is it actually does have a station of its own. So there is a station in between Almádi and Alshire, which is called Capital and Fured. It's just a 1-platform station like Csopak, but like I said, does the job. So here we are east of Capital and Fured, but once again there's like a side road to the main road, which once again I reckon was the main road until they built a new one over there, which was much better and allows faster speeds. And here we are, back at the campsite, nearly there now. It's a good cycle, so if you enjoyed it, got a bit of exercise, it's good, love cycling. Welcome back after our bike ride. We came here by car. It's a little village past Veszprém, so up through the hills, through the city of Veszprém, and beyond to the town of Zírc, which is where we are now. And it is a lovely little town. We've come to spend a couple of hours. So here we are in this kind of monastery abbey place with a brewery where they brew beer, and also a monastery where monks live to this day, and there's a library in it featuring some very old books, some as old as 500 years old, and the 2 oldest globes in Hungary, one of the world and one globe of the sky at night, like stars and constellations and things, as you can see from the pictures. Not quite sure where we're going to go now. Here we are at Balatonalmádi, picking up one of our cousins who's gone down to Budapest for the night and come back up. I imagine they're on that Katica, which just has Desire Mav written on the blind for some reason.
Now it's straight from Budapest, eh?
Yeah, it's heading to Balaton Fured. I'm gonna do the back. Hello and welcome back. Still Thursday today, our last day.
1969.
And we just went to a restaurant called The Corner, in which we had to wait for an hour and a half to be served. And after Mum and Dad got very annoyed, they decided to cool off by having a walk, and we decided to come up to the steam train again, because why the hell not? And we actually last time we were up here, me and Dad were theorising how this train got up there, what it's doing here. Why is it here? And we had two theories. Mine was that there was some kind of branch line that connected to the line down there, and this was just left here from that branch line, which would explain why the bridge is here. And Dad said, or maybe the mayor of Balatonalmádi, who lived around here, just wanted to see the steam train, so he had it put up here. But it turns out I was right, and he was wrong, although he won't admit it.
Right, and I was also right.
There you go. So, he doesn't. Yeah. So it turns out there was actually a whole railway line between Ourobros and Veszprém, which is the city north of the Balaton. So there's a whole line there, which was apparently closed in 1969, according to this plaque. And this whole pathway and road here is actually, you know, the remnants of a disused railway, which again explains why this bridge is here. And this steam train was just left on the line before the rest of the track was teared up. So, torn up. Thank you, Dad. So ironically, in 1969, it was the same period of time when the beaching cuts took place in Britain. So it wasn't just in Britain at that period of time when loads of railway lines closed. It was indeed all over Europe. And this must have been one of the, you know, lines that just closed, probably because not many people were using it, because the vast majority of rail users were going between Budapest and everywhere else. So an Ourobros to Veszprém line wasn't really needed. And that's why this line was closed, and it's now just the only remnants of it are this bridge and the steam train that we saw earlier. So this road was a railway line. That's quite interesting. Something that we didn't know. Oh, and just for the record, the official David Frankal rating for the restaurant was nothing. It doesn't deserve any stars. So walking along this road now, there's some massive mansions nearby. This is the road that I worked out must have been the disused railway path of the Veszprém Ourobros line. A great view of the Balaton down below. Success! We have filmed the interview scene after about 5 attempts trying to do that. So we're now leaving the campsite, unfortunately, and we're going to Pécs for 3 days. Yay!
2.5.
Hello and welcome back. Today is the 21st of August and we're leaving the campsite. We're now going to Pécs. And so we've decided to go via Tihanyi to the other side of the lake and then make our way down to Pécs from there. After visiting Mum's childhood summer house in Csopak, on a small detour down memory lane, we now resumed our journey and we're on the ferry from Tihanyi to Santod Riv once again, except this time we're not making the return journey, as we're going down from Santod Riv all the way to Pécs via Kaposvár. A short stretch through the Balaton on the ferry for the 3rd time this week. Today the Balaton is much calmer and nicer.